Dear students, we have studied till now about the long distances of transport in plants. Today, we are going to discuss the topic, the uptake and transport of mineral nutrients. Carbon dioxide is taken from the atmosphere, the water is absorbed by the soil. But how does the mineral ions are uptaken? This is exactly what we are going to study in this lesson. So, the uptake of mineral ions take place by active absorption, where energy is used in the form of ATP. The reasons why, what are the reasons of being active absorption? Number one, the presence as charged particles, and second, the concentration of ions in soil is lower than in roots. Now, let us focus on the key concepts of active absorption. The first, the specific proteins in membranes of root hair cells pump ions from soil into cytoplasm of epidermal cell. Secondly, transport proteins are embedded in plasma membrane of endodermal cells. The active absorption of mineral ions can be well explained in the following diagram. In the first step, you can see an ATP-driven pump that transports hydrogen ion out of the cell. In the second, the electrochemical gradient causes potassium ions to enter by way of a channel protein. And the third, negatively charged ions are transported along with hydrogen ion into the cell. After the active absorption of ions, let us see how the mineral ions are translocated. The important features of translocation here is the one, it takes place by transpiration stream. Secondly, there are chief sinks in the plants. Let us see what are these chief sinks. Apical and lateral meristems, young leaves, developing fruits, and storage organs. In plants, the mineral ions can be mobilized or immobilized. So, in the case of the mobilization of mineral ions, they are mobilized from older to younger leaves. Second, before leaf fall in deciduous plants. And thirdly, the elements which are mobilized, they are phosphorus, sulfur, nitrogen and potassium. In plants, the food is transported through phloem. The food is prepared in the plant in the form of sucrose. This sucrose is transported from source to sink. Now, what is the source? The source are the leaves where the plant synthesizes food, and sink the storage organs where the plant and the food is used. The most important form of food prepared in the plant is sucrose, which is transported from source to sink. What are these sources? The sources are the leaves where the sucrose is initially prepared in the form of starch, gets converted into sucrose and then transported to the sink, that is the various storage parts of the plant body. Second important point is the phloem transport is bidirectional movement, unlike unidirectional in xylem, because in plants the food is prepared in the leaves and then it is transported to the various parts of the plant body. Now, let us see that what does the phloem sap contains. The phloem sap, it contains water, sucrose, amino acids and hormones. The bidirectional movement in the plant body can be well explained in the following diagram. The diagram shows the root absorbed by the root hair is transported to the leaf, and the food is prepared in the leaf by the process of photosynthesis in the form of starch. The starch gets converted into sucrose and is transported into the various storage parts of the plant body. Now, you may wonder that how the phloem transport food, what are the experimental evidence? Yes, we have an experimental evidence which is called the girdling experiment. A ring of bark is removed from the woody stem. The upper part is attached to the lower part by central xylem. Look into the picture. In this girdling experiment, what do you observe? You observe the accumulation of food material just above the ring, and the roots die out. In the following figure, you see the girdle, the bark which is removed, and here the accumulated materials. So, what do we conclude? We conclude the removal of phloem cuts food supply to roots. So, what is the inference? That the transport of substances take place through phloem. Now, let us see what is the mechanism of phloem translocation. It is explained very well by a hypothesis which is called Munch-Flow hypothesis, which postulates that the movement of protoplasm en masse along a turgor pressure gradient induced by water potential gradient. This particular hypothesis can be explained by a model which is as follows. This model is called mass flow model. If you look into the picture, the model consists of two reservoirs A and B, one containing the concentrated solution, other containing the dilute solutions which contain sugars. Now, what is observed in this model? We observe the water flows from B to A and the turgor pressure increases. So, what is the result? The increased turgor pressure causes mass flow of sugar from A to B. In the same way, in living plants, we can also explain the transport of substances through phloem, as the glucose is prepared at the source, that is the mesophyll cells of leaves. It is converted into sucrose. The sucrose is loaded into sieve tube cells which form sieve plates, and the loading of phloem set up water potential gradient that facilitates mass movement in phloem. So, to conclude, we can see the pressure flow hypothesis, that is, looking into the following figure. Physiological process of loading sucrose into sieve element at the source. The pressure flow, phloem and xylem are coupled in an osmotic system that transports sucrose and circulates water, and the physiological process of unloading sucrose from sieve element into the sink. So, to conclude the topic, we see that the translocation of substances through phloem take place by pressure flow hypothesis, where we have two concepts, source and sink. The prepared food is in the source and it is transported to the sink, that is the different storage parts of the plant body. Thank you. Have a nice day.